we are here with Mike Benavee. He is an author. He's also a spiritual guide, and he had a near-death experience and also a walk-in. We'll be talking about that a bit later. He wrote a book some months ago. It's called The Way of the Soul Guide, Bringing Light to the Soul. We will also be talking about this. So, hello, Mike, and welcome.
Hello, Edge. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here with you.
You had a very interesting near-death experience, and you also mentioned that you had a walk-in. Can you repeat briefly what that was all about, please?
I will go back to the year 2014, and I was working. And again, when I'm talking about my life before the accident, I'm talking about my life also before the spiritual awakening, before the shift. So I personally I don't like who I was up leading to that now because I'm a total different person. But even back then, like I could see the signs and I could see things happening because I grew up very spiritual, not because of my passion to spirituality, it's because it's something that kind of got stuck to me. Clairvoyant abilities, just always thinking about those things, even as a little kid. Like I was almost like I had knowledge of what's going on, but I was not afraid of it, but I rebelled it. I thought that it's going to stop me from growing up normally. I thought that people would not believe me and think that something's wrong with me. So I always kept it. And as a teenager, and I was popular in high school, I guess, and then I was just always the opposite from being spiritual. So I was very materialistic, and I was really now I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, but I was really into money and into women and into just living the life, as they say. And I worked as a correctional officer in the state of Illinois, in Southern Illinois, and that was a maximum security prison where they housed some of the most notorious inmates in the state of Illinois at the time. And it was a job that, even going through the academy and knowing that you're going to work at the prison and hearing stories, you don't really know how this job wears you out on a soul level more than on the physical level. You just go in there, and every day you get exposed to things that shake your soul up. And that's literally, you can ask somebody who works in a maximum security prison or a super max prison, and they'll tell you that even if they're not spiritual, they feel as their soul is being shook up every time they go on a shift. And I was working a lot of overtime, and not because I wanted to, it was mandatory at the time. And why am I giving this introduction? Because all of these negative energies or all these trials and all these I felt like my soul was pushed to its limit of how much it can tolerate between all these sites and my need and desire to make money and keep my benefits. So I would just lose sleep. I would not sleep. I would work the night shift, come back home, maybe rest for a couple hours, and then go on with my other business that I had at the time, and then go back to the prison. And I used to drive an hour from my house to the prison. So I was really, really tired. And here comes the day that they cannot mandate me for overtime. And it was a Tuesday morning. And I get off work, and it was by the time I got into my car and left, it was almost 7 a.m. And it was just another day. And I didn't really feel tired that morning. I was just very anxious to go home and get my 2 days off and forget about this place. And I get into my van, and I drive home just like any other morning. And I remember that it was a school morning. Of course, it was the middle of the week, and parents took their kids to school around that time that I used to leave the prison to go home. And I get into my van, so I drive in this road. It's called Route 3. And by the way, the time of the accident was in 7:33, and it was a Tuesday, which is the third day. So there's a lot of threes involved, and only later on I was able to piece together But going back to the story, so me driving back home, I was doing the speed limit, which was 70 miles per hour. It wasn't slow, but it wasn't too fast, and I was doing the speed limit. Of course, I was a public servant. I was in uniform. I'm driving safely home, and all of a sudden, I don't know if I fell asleep because I wasn't planning on it, if I dozed off or if something happened to me, but I felt like I'm closing my eyes and I wake right up and my car is hydroplaning. I lost control over the vehicle. I could not, my wheel locked completely. Um, my brakes locked. I couldn't do anything. And then I started spinning. And I was hoping that by me not hitting the gas pedal anymore, the speed's gonna go down. And I look at the speed gauge and it's going up. It was from 70, went to 75 to 80 miles per hour. And the higher the speed got, the more I was sure that I'm not going to make it out of that alive because I really had no control. So I'm looking and seeing on the opposite lane there was a car approaching, and I remember clearly because everything just seemed to slow down. I saw that lady with kids in the back, and I understood that they're going to school, and all I wanted, I know that I had that wish, and I was like, if anything can happen this morning, I just do not want to hurt these innocent people. I don't want to cause suffering or pain to anybody else. If that's what's supposed to happen to me, let it happen to me only. And for some reason, I had the strength to pull that car all the way to the right. I steer the wheel all the way to the right, and it worked. But then I saw myself heading into this concrete slab slash wall or divider. It was something. And I remember that I'm holding the wheel and the speed is still 85 miles per hour, something like that. And everything just started to become slow motion. Like I'm realizing this is it. So it's almost like I gave myself an extra time to mourn myself or to just reflect. And all that time, I didn't even control what happened, but there's a huge smile on my face out of nowhere, and I didn't realize it's the first time that I felt like I can't control this personality, but I didn't feel like I had a reason to laugh. Like, and then I start convincing myself, is it because it's just silly to go like that in your uniform after work? But I wouldn't find that funny. I would panic. I knew myself back then, but I'm smiling like like a kid who's excited to open his Christmas present. Oh, okay. I was just this start. I was smiling, and all of a sudden, I'm expecting the impact, and then I hear the loudest explosion sound I've ever heard in my life, and it was just dramatically loud. It was something that it was like the loudest thunder. And after that, all I remember was seeing the airbag just starting to deploy. And as it was starting to deploy, and I guess at that time I fainted or whatnot, but I saw it like sheets that are hanging outside to dry. And you see that beautiful white cloth just like going in the wind, and like, and I'm saying, and I know it's the airbag, but it just had that effect, slow motion. And then all I remember was the experience itself. When I woke up, I was upside down. And as I was upside down, I had recollection of everything that happened from the time I left work till that moment. And not only I remember that, but because of the what happened, like that's all I could think about is just what just happened. And there are pictures out there that show the car was completely crushed, and it was aimed on the driver's side specifically. It's almost like something was supposed, if something were to happen, it would happen to the driver and that vehicle. And and I could see that being upside down, I could see that everything is crushing me, yet I don't feel a thing. Instead, I had the most amazing, sensational feeling I've ever felt in my life. It was literally the description of out of body. But I tell people when they ask me for description, I said I will not do any justice with such feeling if I'll try to downgrade it into physical terms. Okay, I said, imagine you just the most relaxed. Imagine that nothing bothers you. Imagine that somebody tickles you. Imagine that you just like enjoying your favorite beverage, all the pleasures in the world multiplied by trillions, and maybe you'll start understanding what I'm about to describe to you. It was to a point when, first of all, I was fascinated with the fact that the sound was completely gone. It was if as if you were one of, they have nowadays these sound cancellation headphones, professional ones, when they really suck all the sound out of the environment. It felt like that, but on a mass level, meaning there was no sound whatsoever. And there was no smell, definitely no pain or no any physical sensation. Most importantly, there was no thoughts. And that what made me feel that I am here playing in a different playground. I'm in a different consciousness, because knowing myself, I always think, even in the most relaxing of times that I can have, I will still think about how relaxed I am. That's just who I am. And all people, to be honest with you, no matter what you do, even if you're relaxed, you read a book, you think about the book. You'll look at the sky, you'll think about how lucky you are to rest. Okay, so we always think. And then that day, I didn't think. I just existed. And there is no other description but just saying you exist. And all I remember was that I the absurd that the irony of just me being in this chaotic situation, still in the car. I'm still in the car. I'm surrounded by the car. I Nothing really changed aside from, the world was like in a dream state, feeling like it was just like you, the only one in your dreams. You don't really pay attention to characters too much, but what like what you go through in your dreams. So it's like it's all about you. So in the dream, it was just in, me in the car, and I felt so amazing. And I said to myself, well, I want to stay here. I just want to feel what I'm feeling. If this is what I'm supposed to be doing, so be it. But at the same time, I was trying my best to find ways to get out. Now the car was buried in the ground. That's I knew after. It was there's no way that I could open any door or anything like that, and it was crushed. It needed to be completely torn apart to be able to extract anybody. But in that dream state, I am trying to get out, and I'm kicking, and there's no feeling, there's no sensation. I'm trying to get out of the car, and I'm upside down. So everything you see upside down. And I'm looking out the window, and I'm in the cornfield, where the car was during the accident, and everything is like a dream state. And I see this lady walking by right outside the car. And that lady did not look like she belonged to this generation, to that year 2014. Not at all. She was dressed like she was from 1700, a farmer, and those clothes, they were dusty. She was in her 60s with a burn scar on her cheek, and she had a headscarf too, and she looked like he took her from a time machine and brought her there. And she's just pacing, just me and her in the world. She's pacing outside the car, back and forth, back and forth. And I remember, because I couldn't speak, there's no sound. And I'm just, all I have is my vision and my feeling. And I'm making motions with my arms, just like help me motions. And I remember that all she did was she nodded her head, no, like, I'm not helping you. I'm just going to keep on walking. And I remember that at that time I stopped and I said, I'm not judging her. I'm not mad at her. I'm not, there was no negativity. There was no, I couldn't get that side of me to say, like, hey, I'm frustrated, or hey, what you doing? Like, in life, we have the ego, and the ego comes in when our needs are not being met. Doesn't matter if it's a psychological need, if it's, we can be on a telephone with a customer service representative and we can get angry because we don't get what we need. When a baby doesn't get what they need when they're newborns, they scream. They want the food. They don't just make cute baby voices, right? They scream at the mother to feel like that's the ego. That's the side of us that it's not built in. It's attached to us since we were born until we pass. And at that time, I didn't have it. I didn't have that part. I was just like, okay, don't help me. Everything's good. Everything's perfect. Like, and I'm like, I'm just gonna close my eyes to rest, and I'm sure that when I get up, I'll have enough strength to wander around to explore what's going on. I didn't have any ill feelings, no fear, like I said, no pain, no panicking. I was just like, hey, like I just need to get out because I felt like I wanted to get out, and as a soul, I probably could, but I was supposed to be there. And when I closed my eyes, it wasn't even a split second before I reopened them, and everything came back to life again. Sounds, the noise, the smell. It was chaotic. All of a sudden, I look outside, and I'm still upside down, and I feel the pressure on my knee. Like I'm still completely stuck, and I see hundreds of people outside, hundreds, everywhere on the road, 3 fire trucks, 2 ambulances, police, people, curious people just wanted to come and see because hey, somebody ended up in the middle of a field after being hitting a wall and rolling over 6 times. 6 times. So, and it was on high speed. So each rollover could have technically or should have killed me completely, my body. So I get up and everything is like you played a movie after pausing it, and people are running, and everybody's, and I'm still having some, the side effects from that feeling. I'm still relaxed, just like I had deep meditation. Now I was in my body, everything made sense, and I remembered everything from the beginning to the experience. Like nothing really was cut off. And people just, this paramedic is tackling the car, giving me IV through the window and screaming at me not to move, even though I felt that I was fine. He gave me IV and I was like, get me out, sir. And he said, we cannot. We have to wait for the firefighters to bring the jaws of life, which is a big hydraulic machine that tears the car apart and extract you. And they came and they're knocking and they're using the electric saw, and you hear all these noises, and I'm here closing my eyes knowing that I'm fine, but I'm like I was tired of arguing with them and telling them that I'm fine because they thought that I was in shock or that all my bones were broken. I was bleeding in the head or something. And they got me out. They remember they cut my uniform immediately. They gave me morphine, in a shot, like without even my consent. They just like treated me like I was out, even though I was not. And they rushed me to the hospital, and I'm sitting in the ambulance. And I remember that I was in the stretcher, and like I said, I was feeling myself. I was feeling good, and I looked at the officer. It was a female sheriff officer, and I asked her if she can maybe answer one of my questions. And she said, "Well, she's gonna talk to me later on. I should rest right now and keep it for later." And I insisted to ask one question, and she said, "Yes, I can. What's the question?" And I said, isn't it illegal for a citizen not to help another citizen in distress? And I don't even know why I asked it. And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, there was this lady. She's supposed, I was trying to get her attention to call you guys or to help me. I was kind of stuck, and she wouldn't help me. And I don't know why. She was very close to the car. And the lady said, well, we were the first in the scene. There was no lady. I mean, that you were in the middle of nowhere. Like people called us. People from the prison were there. The warden of the prison was there. Like all these people called, and I'm like, I don't recall any of them being there or anything like that. And then I realized that I was like, okay, well, I'm experiencing something different here. I don't think that I was on the same page of what they know happened or saw happen than what I went through. Now I knew that it was something metaphysical. I didn't even want to argue with myself about that or blame the impact or anything because I remembered everything. And I remember that the miracle number 2 happened when I was in the hospital, and there'll be the end of the story, which is the story is the really beginning. The end of the story is the beginning of the real story that's still going on. But I remember that in the hospital, in the trauma room, unlike the ER, the trauma room is like you get the first priority, and the people that go there are the people who've been through really life-saving moments on the way to the hospital, and they need to be addressed immediately. And over there, they bring imaging to you. It's amazing. Like anything you need, they don't even take you anywhere. You stay in one bed and everything is done on you on the spot. And I remember this scanning me and different people introducing themselves to scan me here, scan me there, and I'm like, I'm sitting there feeling great. And I remember the doctor or professor, somebody came there after this and to talk to me. And I had friends over coming to visit because people were panicking, knowing that I had a bad accident. And he said, "Listen, I've never seen anything like that all my years here. I'm going to let you go." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You didn't even break a nail. You don't even have inflammation in your body, not even a bruise, not even the bloods that we take. Nothing even indicates like inflammation." Now, let's go back a little bit. 80 miles per hour. You do this huge impact. That doesn't hurt you. Then I roll over 6 times. That doesn't, I mean, nothing. Nothing at all. In the end, there's one of the pictures that me at the hospital, on my way to the hospital, and I had a cut on my hand here. And they were asking, okay, well, this happened there. Like I was like, no, you know what had happened? When they got me out of the car, my arm was like hanging loose and it hit the broken window. I wasn't even part of the accident. And it was only after. So I was like, not even a nail. Like I was able to go to work 2 days after, and it made me wear this thing just in case, this neck brace, and I didn't need it. I was completely functioning. I was fine. Not even a headache. Nothing. And
So this is a little video of what happened to me last night. Check that. Here's my lovely van. Now, I was trapped underneath there for about 20 something minutes. Still handsome, but that was pretty bad. You don't really survive that. Be safe, wear your seatbelt.
after that, my life completely went into a turbulence. It was a chain of traumatic personal events that happened around me, but at the same time to me and for me. And it was putting me in a big test of how I help myself and how I help other people. And that happened years, and I'm talking about divorce and kids and different women and just massive and health issues and mentally like massive issues that when you look up, you're like, okay, this is something is shifting. This is not just it's not warnings or signs. Something is shifting. Like when it rains, it pours, and something is molding or remolding. And it's almost like I had to put this new soul, this new old soul, and we'll talk about it in a minute, to a test of like, can you even embrace that new journey you're going to take? If so, I'm going to give you A, B, C, D, E. Go through them. That's your baptism in fire spiritually before you'll be ready for the next stage. That's why I understood. So in the beginning, I thought it was a near-death experience, but it wasn't the classic near-death experience. I couldn't fit in with the rest of the people's stories. I didn't see the bright light. I didn't look down and saw my body. I wasn't in the field of flowers. I didn't see Jesus, or I didn't see a lot of the comment in the stories I'm saying. I validate everything that people say, but I didn't have that common story with them. Instead, I had some people call it astral projecting, which you jump between dimensions because the soul does not obey the rules of time. There is no past, present, future in the soul. Only when we are trapped in this body, we have this like timer with us called timeline. Other than that, and this is why I got to some of my conclusions that I didn't even discuss with you back then because I didn't know them. And the back surgeries, by the way, and all these like major health shifts that I'm still going through. That is almost like I have to give up my physical body, give up my day-to-day life, give up some of my circles, some of my life that I created for myself in order to bring up who I really am, my essence, my spiritual abilities, I felt like I'm hatching from an egg. It's like a rebirth while you're still alive. Like you go into this birth canal again, into this womb, into this period of time, and then you emerge again in a new form. And And from a near-death experience, I was like, okay, maybe it's an out-of-body experience, maybe it's a walking soul, because I am completely a different person. Personality-wise, I do remember my loved ones. I love them. I do have my memories, but I'm a different person on a soul level. It's not that, some people change because life-changing events change them, and they see the world from a different perspective, sometimes better perspective, sometimes less. But people change according to events. Me, it was something was swapped in the core, my whole mechanism. It's like you take a toaster, you change the heating element, but the toaster's body is the same toaster. That's the way to explain it. So I was going into investigating, and it was the time that I was speaking to you a little bit before. I was investigating. I was trying to see if people had something similar, or I was just doing a lot of investigation to realize just what happened to me. If it's not near death, what is it? Because it definitely was not an illusion. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't anything. Something happened, and it's still happening. And then the closest thing was walking, which is people keep their memories. And during an event, a near death, usually it will be in a near death experience event, because you have to create that opening, to open that blind between the two dimensions. There's only certain times that people can open that barrier and slide in or slide out, and that's usually when you're on the verge of life or death. It's exactly what it is. It's the hallway between. And then I'm, to myself, up until recently, like, this is a walking soul, classic walking soul. And then I was trying to investigate what is walking soul, because there's not a lot of information about that. It's a lot of basic theory and description of the phenomenon, but not a lot of understanding. And me, through helping, since I spoke to you first, 500 and some people, according to what my wife told me, souls, one-on-one, souls that I was just honored to talk to them. I was helping them, but I was getting even more light from them. I was being helped. I was the soul guide to them, but they were my spirit guide to me on the metaphysical level. It was amazing. So by helping these people, I was able to reflect it back at myself. And after every session, I start gaining consciousness, which is basically means spiritual knowledge, the knowledge of the soul. I know my body. I know how many push-ups I can do. I know how much, my eye color. I know my genetics. I can know a lot about the physical. That's physical conscious. When people go unconscious, meaning they're not aware, their eyes are not open. They're either sleeping or passed out or sick, something like that. So they call them unconscious. We can also be spiritually unconscious, which is most people. We know what we see. We know what we believe. We know what we were taught. We know that there is life and death. We know because we see other people. But true spiritual consciousness is that you know who you were before you came here. You know who you truly are now. You know where you're headed. Now you have consciousness. Now you take everything about you and you switch it towards your real purpose. Your real purpose is revealed in front of you. You don't even have to dig and look. Like your soul knows its destiny from before. It's getting covered with mud.
The first time I interviewed you, you were starting out giving free advice and free counseling to those people who wanted to reach out. And you've been doing this for over a year now. And a lot of people that you help, you do so without asking for money. You do it for free. Yeah. So you've been helping a lot of people. You just mentioned that over 500?
Yeah.
Okay, so what drives you to continue doing this, and what is the satisfaction? How many people have you really helped, and what are the most meaningful cases you have dealt with?
Wonderful question. I'm going to start from the beginning. Yeah, that's what I do for a living. I'm disabled. I don't even walk normally. And I do this I started after the surgery doing it for a living. And I tell people I don't charge. If people want to leave donations, they do, some don't, some. But the thing about me helping people, see, it started off as a like a calling to service, to help people. Then I realized soon enough that I've been waiting on this soul. It's not a coincidence. The people that I meet, how many I meet, who I meet, to a point when I start telling, I'm not for everyone. I'm waiting at a certain timeline for these souls, which in this physical journey, I know nothing about. They're from, I've spoken to people in all ages. It was from little young boys to people in their 90s, from remote villages in Africa to where the power just to keep Zoom and the internet to go, like, we would have to do a session that it was supposed to take 20 minutes, lasted 2.5 hours, just because we had to deal with technical issues. And these souls were just amazing. And they all have the same patterns, almost the same story, the same ability. And I was able to connect. And now these people, how they turn to me. Some see my posts, some saw me in podcasts, but they all tell me the same thing. We don't even know why we're writing you. We watch these things all the time. We don't really, I mean, we get inspired by others. We love the stories. It drives us and moves us. We love it. But we don't get to just write. We don't even know why we're writing you. But something in your story resonated. They're also the same thing, resonated with them. And they're all real people. They're on this page, and they're telling me the same thing from all over the world. It was something that told them that they needed to speak to me. And I said, yes, I've been waiting on you. Why am I called the soul guide? I'm not the soul healer, the soul. I'm just, if you put these people in the spiritual path, my assignment is a sign, a road sign, a traffic sign. I'm just a sign. So I don't really help these people more than I show them a mirror or the light or the direction to their real journey, to their real purpose. They usually come to me with problems that I know is not a result of their actions or choices. It's almost like life challenges them without them deserving it or doing. And yet you can see the inner strength that they have and the aura and the light. You expect to see people like these dim and down and defeated, and yet they tell you that stuff and they're glowing from light. And then I just explain them, I guide them, and I give people a spiritual interpretation through the physical events in their life. It's all I do. Sometimes during sessions, telepathically, I will have psychic abilities come up inside the conversation. I'll get into this trance and I'll tell people things that I'm supposed to tell them. Because see, these sessions, when I'm done with them, I don't even remember them. I remember the stories of the people talking to me. I don't record. I don't pre-plan it. It's not like a planned lesson or structural class. My wife gives me a name and time, and I sit here just like I'm sitting in front of you. And the people talking to me is like, I know you. I know your story. I don't need to even read your email. I'm waiting on you. I've been waiting on you. This is the time. And it always brings people to tears. It brings me to tears in sessions. It's something I can't explain. And you know what? And it's just randomly in certain different stories, different people, and I feel to them till this day a connection that it wasn't just people that came. I'm not a service. I'm a spiritual service to those who resonate, and you can call it resonate my story. And you have. It's almost like I've planted signs and baits places, and people went them, and they were really supposed to be talking to me. In the beginning, I felt like, okay, I'm here to fix and correct everybody who's come my way. I'm here to fix and correct the world. And then I realized the two journeys, and I realized my journey, and I know that I'm supposed to take the passenger seat and enjoy the ride. I'm no longer the driver. I no longer take turns in my life. I don't decide when to go and when to stop and when to rest and when to maintain the vehicle. I am a passenger. I'm supposed to react to situations and not act towards them. And once I learned to react and not act, I was able to open up to consciousness, and just life is living for me. And I'm not like living, like working hard for life, but to live. As a soul, I always live. And if I use and adopt this approach, life is so much easier, so much meaningful. Like your journey, your purpose. People's like, how do I find my purpose? It's like, it finds you. Once you take the right route, it finds you. You find it. You walk into it. It's like I tell somebody, hey, they're asking me, I'm new in the neighborhood. How do I get to the grocery store? Well, you can't go wrong. Just go straight. You'll hit it. You'll hear it. You'll see it. Hey, it's the easiest thing. That's what I tell people. Once you just take the right path and go straight.
Well, that's
And don't
great.
lose it.
That's amazing. I congratulate you for doing this voluntary work. Also, last March, we had the chance to work together on your book, and we published it in Amazon. It's called The Way of the Soul Guide, Bringing Light to the Soul. So what made you write this book? And I remember you were concerned about making an announcement in this book about how the world was going to change in the following months. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. First of all, I wanted to thank you for having a major part in this book. This book is not something that I just take full credit about, because it was an idea. It was first an idea to tell my story. But then I realized that, okay, I'm going to tell my story, and then what? What is the moral of the story? Because I think I'm more about the moral of my story, and I'm going to leave my story to those who are fascinated with such stories. But what's the point of the story? And I remember, and if you remember, I was having a hard time with getting it out, with the timing. I was always going to the drawing, and I'm like, why am I working on it? I need to just, like I said, take the passenger seat, leave it aside as an idea. It was in my computer, and I remember the first part I only did was like my story, and then I was like, okay, what I have, and I had the idea of how many pages I wanted, and I was like, then what? And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be myself. If I'm the soul guide, I'm going to tell my story, and my story is only going to take a chapter or two. I'm going to just have random amount of chapters, short chapters that are insights. And if I can connect it to a story of mine, then some of these insights are connected to a story that happened to me personally. Oh, I was going to the grocery store and I was able to practice kindness. And kindness is this, this, this. And I was just sitting one day and start looking back at my Facebook post, how I started the Soul Guide. And I saw my post, my just random insights that were sitting on my soul, and I was ready to share with this handful of people I had at the time. And I elaborated on them. I took them and I'm like, okay, take it and explain about it, expand it. So it's not a book that has, it's not a story. However, my story is included, but it's just chapters of different insights that are somehow related to our day-to-day life, but they're hidden spiritual insights. Now from there, then you have from like how to practice kindness to meaning of the meaning of some numbers, or how to communicate and assemble Archangel Michael, and it's all based on my experience. So it's not like a source that you can compare to others, but it's my personal insights that I wanted really out there, because I wanted people to be able to read this when they feel like they need some strength that you can't get at the gym, or can't get at the psychology, or you can't get at the reading a motivational quote. I wanted to speak to people's souls, and based on my knowledge, based on my experience only, and to hope for those who are meant to resonate with it to resonate with that. So.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting book. And there are many spiritual books like yours, which have they talk about different topics on each chapter. So I think it's really great. Also, lately, I saw that you are doing a podcast. I saw Betty recently interviewed by you. So you are starting on that project too, and I know, well, I must repeat that you have a Facebook page, which is pretty
Yes.
popular, and you are also doing this new effort on YouTube, right?
Yes. I try to get the message out to as many people as I can, because I do get feedback. I have people writing me that some of the insights, some of the videos, because my Facebook page is a bunch of posts, insights. I'll create some pictures and text, and then I'll do short videos of me, or live videos. And then I decide, because AJ, my friend, we always grow. We meant to grow and be on the move all the time. See, to grow in consciousness, you got to kind of break your own barrier at times and be like, you know what, I don't want to, because people are like, I don't want to take risk and do this. I don't have time for that. Just go with the wind, like I go with an internal compass that I have in my soul. And I felt like, I share enough, but I want to get people who are unique in different spiritual fields. And I want to, and it's not even interviews, it's more like just sharing insights. It's, I'm a philosopher as well. I'm into philosophy of the metaphysical. So I wanted to have a metaphysical, philosophical conversation with people in high level of consciousness. And like I said in the beginning, consciousness is the knowledge of the soul, the knowledge of the spirit, the knowledge of your spiritual surroundings, and kind of just open up. Nothing is structured, nothing is planned. I just go out there, and like, episodes are not broadcasted in a certain day or a certain time. I want to be able to reach to whomever I'm supposed to reach, but I really want to reach people who are not in the mainstream. Like, I don't just do near-death experiences. I want to talk to people who deal with everything metaphysical, and from different fields. And I want people to just, just the content. Like, you have TV content. I want people who really want more, because a lot of people go to these groups on Facebook, and unfortunately, the larger the group, a lot of people sometimes like to get out of that subject and to just make it like, okay, I'm here in this group, so let's just make it about anything. And I really want to be unique when it comes to, you're gonna find, I don't want to say quality spiritual content, but you're gonna get nothing but spiritual content, and you're going to be hearing not only from me, because like I said, I'm growing as I want to be able to share the light that others have with my followers and their knowledge. And when I talk to them, again, in the end of the day, I don't mean to sound selfish, but all of this is also for me. And when I said for me, is because part of my spiritual journey, this is how I grow. When I talk to you right now, I grow. When I talk to you right now, instead of watching TV, and instead of being in pain right now, in bed, or just doing something that, no, this is my time for my spirit. This is how this is, some people call it shadow work. I get to grow via via just doing it, just being
Yeah,
around it.
I
So to me,
understand.
it's amazing. And instead of benefiting just self, people think like, "What, you're helping others?" Yeah, but I'm helping you, helping me too. It's a give and take. There is no I know it all. Like, people must understand. Like, even when they talk to somebody who's supposed to be psychic and a guide and whatnot, if they think that that individual is the only person who's going to just pour them with knowledge and energy and light, they're wrong. They're supposed to be able to do they're supposed to go the other way. Really, when you exchange light with people, when two souls are talking as souls, there is no better or more knowledgeable, or more, you know what I mean? There is no question marks. The soul knows everything. Yeah, we're speaking about spiritual thing, but telepathically, there's also knowledge and information and energies and feelings. That's what sometimes, I can be done with a session and have this huge smile on my face and tell my wife, "Wow, I feel better now. I feel great." And it's not just the ability to help, but I feel great because my soul feels great. I gave my soul a treat. I took it to where it wants to go. I spoke to what it wants to speak about, and I painted a reality, which is the real reality, which is the metaphysical one.
So how can people contact you? How can they reach you? And also, I want you to give me the links so I can include them in the description of your different sites. Okay, so how can people contact you?
Well, thank you so much for that. And people contact me. They can look me up on Facebook, The Soul Guide. My email is thesoulguide27. And one day I'm going to plan to do a video soon that's going to really shock a lot of people. You know, when you encounter numbers in your life, a lot of people can see numbers coming into their life. How many people can say that they share numbers that come into their life together as a couple? Me and my wife was my twin flame. That's why it makes sense. We start having numbers that encountering us for over 2 years now. And because they come in the most strange of ways and random of ways, we decided to be like, you know what? We're going to start documenting it. So one day I'm going to show people. And once I do a video about that, I'm going to start showing the evidence. People will see hard proof of how loved ones from the other side or the same side or the afterlife or the other dimension or heaven, same thing, can communicate and do communicate with us. An angel communicate with us on daily basis. All we have to do is open our spiritual eyes and see. We have to welcome it. We have to meet it halfway. We have to embrace it. So the Soul Guide 27, because 27 is one of the numbers, is the main number that we have. So the soulguide27@gmail.com. You can email me questions or anything you want, just to talk. We try to answer everybody in a timely manner, but I'll tell people that they'll be answered in a divine timing, and they can just follow the page. And like I said, I do offer sessions where I help people. It's spiritual guidance. But that's just the title of it, because once I do sessions for people who I'm supposed to do sessions, and like I said, I'm not for everyone. It's not like, okay, get to me in hundreds, like come to me, talk to me. No, only the people who for some reason resonate with that on the soul level, that's the people I'm supposed to talk to, and these are the most successful sessions, and these are the sessions who are meant to be.
If someone is interested in those sessions, do they simply write to you or what?
So usually they write to us on Facebook and or on email. I said the Soul Guide 27, all one word, @gmail.com, and the Soul Guide on Facebook. So the show is called Elevate the Soul. And by the way, not to put you on the spot, but I'm planning to have you as my guest list too, to have a deep conversation, because I'm sure that a lot of people would benefit from your very, I know your knowledge, I know your experience, I know how much you live this subject, and a lot more people should be exposed to you. And I hope that you'll give me the honor to do the same. And it's soon, and it's divine timing, because I have a lot to talk to you about outside of the near-death experience subject. Because, like I said, it's an ocean. It's an ocean of philosophical views, and we're sharing lights. And I think that my followers would really benefit from you. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I just did a presentation for Spiritual Awakenings International, in which I spoke about a lot of spiritual things. Okay, it will be an honor.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm planning. I mean, and you'll see, it's not an interview. It's total conversation. It's like a podcast. It's a conversation. We just leave everything on the table, spiritually speaking. The atmosphere is different, and I'm excited about it. But like I said, I want to do it because I feel that I've grown so much from a seeker. I'm now a guide. From for somebody who's on a quest, I'm now just having people on the quest with me. I'm leading them to their quest, and everybody has a beautiful individual journey. We have to know that our journey is so individually wrapped and specialized for us. For us, the collective is who motivates us, is who we get to practice kindness, is who we get to test our soul with. But we all have our individual journey, and we all have our collective journey. Now, to one of your last questions that you asked, things that are about to happen in the world. Well, all you have to do is do something that I don't do anymore, and it's just open the news and see what's going on and how this pot is boiling. We are about to experience as a collective some major dramatic event. Now, I'm not into the business of saying good or bad or intimidate or scare. It's not about that. Nothing is bad and nothing is scary. You're scared when you don't have consciousness, when you're confused, when you don't have the right knowledge. But if you know that the shift is coming, and this is why the big spiritual awakening, there's a global awakening. Why is it happening? These people now are all in podcasts and YouTube, and they're showing who they are, but they will be needed to help seriously save humanity from that shift. We're going to go through that shift and survive that storm. We're going to sit and enjoy a warm fireplace night when the storm is outside instead of being in the storm. So this is what I've been getting lately, and I've seen the beautiful awakening and how the balance is being restored. There's a lot of energies. Everything is spiritual energies, and they are the ones to pulling on the strings here in the physical world.
Well, thank you, Mike. It has been a pleasure. I am sure that people who watch this interview will investigate a bit more. They can find you on Facebook. They can get your book, and I'm sure that everybody will love to hear you talk. And you have a great message for the world. And I can only say I congratulate you and thank you.
Thank you so much. And all I want from this is to people to go to bed smiling after watching your wonderful show and know that we were able to tap into their souls. So that's the most important thing.